want to give you a comprehensive overview of the marketplace business models that we find right now in the current market landscape. Now, of course, marketplaces sometimes are very hard to label because they may be doing many things at once, but there are several ways to classify marketplaces or marketplace business models. What matters to us is really to understand the nature of business models so that we can break it down, understand if a marketplace competes to another, if they serve the same customer base, if there is overlapping. I mean, there are several reasons why we might want to be able to understand the marketplace business models. And for the sake of this session, we're going to look at three primary ways to really look at those marketplaces. One is based on the product or service profile. Another classification is based on the customer profile, and another classification yet is based on the main key players that make up the marketplace. Now, if we look at the either product or service profile, of course, we can have either products marketplace or services marketplace, or both, like a marketplace that combine both. An example of a product marketplace is, for instance, Etsy, like a platform where you can sell stuff on top of it. And an example, of course, of service marketplace are companies like Uber, Airbnb, where the main product of the platform is actually a service. Then if we look at the customer profile, so who is selling to whom, we can classify marketplace business models in B2B, B2C, or C2C. In a B2B model, business is selling to another business. Take the example of Alibaba, who is an e-commerce company that enables other e-commerce companies to outsource part of their inventory manufacturing to the e-commerce platforms on top of Alibaba. Therefore, the transaction here is happening from two businesses. That's where it's B2B. So I'm an e-commerce who wants to sell something on top of Amazon. I go on Alibaba and outsource the manufacturing of that item to another company on top of the Alibaba marketplace. So it's a transaction between businesses. Another example is a transaction between a business and a consumer, a B2C. One example of that is, for instance, a platform like Booking.com. Now, on Booking.com, it's a travel platform where you're going to find a business, like, for instance, an hotel, who is selling a room to a consumer. So it's a marketplace where, on the one side, you have the company, on the other side, you have the consumer. And then you have a C2C platform where consumers are engaging on a peer-to-peer basis. Think of the cases of platform also fashion platforms like Vinted or Depop or Farfetch, where someone is listing its own items for sale and like a consumer, and another consumer is buying it. So it's a peer-to-peer transaction between consumers. It's important to understand this definition because you also need to understand how to trigger network effects. For instance, when you look at a B2B marketplace, the kind of network effects that you can trigger that are different than the kind of network effects that you have on a B2C or a C2C. Another element, another way for us to classify marketplace business models, it's on the key players on top of the marketplace. So marketplaces in these cases can be two-sided. Take the case of a platform like LinkedIn, where on the one side you have mostly professionals and on the other side you have mostly companies looking for professionals. So it's two-sided because you have two main players that make up the platform growth. On the other side, you can have platforms who are three-sided, meaning that there are more than two players. There are three core players. Think of the case of Uber Eats, where on the one side you have like the food deliver, the people who orders food, so the eaters. The other side you have like the people who deliver food on top of the platform, and you have the restaurants. So it's three-sided, meaning that those three players need to come together in order to strengthen the platform over time. So also the network effects here will be slightly different from a two-sided platform. And a multi-sided platform where instead you have more than three core players. One example can be like the Facebook advertising platform, which is actually interesting for several players like advertisers, marketers, developers, and users. As for instance, advertisers and marketers can be the same person, but they can also be two different persons. So there may be a marketing company who manages the advertising for another company, and at the same time developers who actually can build on top of Facebook various features, or actually can use the platform and the APIs of the platform to do various things, and the users who actually benefit, let's say, from this targeted advertising. So this is one example of multi-sided. Again, we can break down marketplace business models in various ways. The reason why it's important to understand how those are made up, it's just because based on the customer profile, on the type of product that we sell, and who are the core players on the platform, network effects will look slightly different. And so we're going to understand how to tweak and handle the platform in a different way compared to, let's say, if it were like a B2B or a B2C or a C2C, or if it has like three sides which are important, two sides. The kind of network effects, and therefore the whole growth strategy of the company is going to change altogether.